Hello, this is the weekly Tradecast. I'm Sarah Toms. We're celebrating the 60th anniversary of UN Trade and Development with a series of special episodes. We're looking at how trade and development build brighter futures and at the big themes that will drive our work in the next 60 years. Coming up now,
we must defend multilateralism every day, but a renewed form of multilateralism with greater representation in governance, with fairer rules in trade and the environment, with much less inequity in international finance. Let's go forward together.
In 1964, our organisation was founded as the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, or UNCTAD, to promote a fairer economic system and access to the benefits of global trade for all people. As we mark 60 years of transforming people's lives, we're also evolving to meet the challenges and opportunities ahead. Charting a new development course in a changing world was the theme of our recent anniversary event in Geneva, the Global Leaders Forum. With a cascade of crises in recent years and so many complexities from climate change, technology and geopolitics, how do we chart a new course for development? UN Trade and Development Secretary-General Rebecca Grinspan says the climb to prosperity is still too steep for many millions of people and with too many hurdles along the way. In a multipolar world with various countries or groups of countries having significant power and influence, she calls for stronger multilateralism with countries working together on common issues and making decisions collectively.
Our internationally agreed rules-based economic order is being contested. A new multipolar world has emerged, but multipolarity without multilateralism is a path to fragmentation, a descent into trade wars and dwindling global cooperation. We must defend multilateralism every day, but a renewed form of multilateralism with greater representation in governance, with fairer rules in trade and the environment, with much less inequity in international finance. Let's go forward together.
Our work to broaden the benefits of trade and development is vital to progress.
Today, the clarity and commitment of UN trade and development are more relevant than ever. Geopolitical divisions are rising, inequalities are growing, the climate crisis is hitting many developing countries hard, and new and protracted conflicts are having a ripple effect across the global economy.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres underscored what's at stake.
The world cannot afford splits into rival blocs. The implementation of the SDGs and the need to ensure peace and security makes essential to have one global market and one global economy in which there is no place for poverty and hunger. UN trade and development has an essential role in that world.
As we move forward, many look at China as a global economic force. Calling for cooperation and fresh approaches, Chinese President Xi Jinping pledged continued financial support for UN trade and development.
尊敬的格林斯潘秘书长，各位同事、女士们。
All countries, major ones in particular, should pursue true multilateralism, advocate an equal and orderly multipolar world, abide by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, and support a more effective role of UNCTAD and other multilateral agencies.
Other leaders calling for greater collaboration include Prime Minister Keirala Shanana Guzmão of Timor-Leste.
We know that development is a difficult process, and there is no one-size-fits-all formula. We learned quickly that without peace, there can be no development, and without development, there can no be peace. We also learned that we were not alone. It is vital UNCTAD has the political support needed to undertake its role and to chart a new model for international development.
For Namibia's Deputy Prime Minister, John Mutua, stability, community and prosperity go hand in hand.
We must continue to contribute to efforts of multilateral, international, and regional organizations so as to secure a peaceful world. Very important, peace goes together with development for trade, investment, and shared growth to take place without any hindrance.
And the president of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, says that UN trade and development's 60-year record of promoting sustainable growth inspires confidence that we can achieve a more prosperous, just and inclusive future.
Tenho muito orgulho de fazer parte da história do presente e do futuro da UNCTAD.
To get where we need to be, the gathering in Geneva looked at how we must reform industrial policies, drive digital inclusion, diversify economies and reshape investment and global value chains. To advance development, we must change how our financial systems work, says Jose Antonio Ocampo, an economist at Columbia University in New York and a former UN Undersecretary General and Finance Minister of his native Colombia.
Debt is actually the most important financial issue today. Many developing countries, both low and middle income countries, have a massive debt problem, and there are no institutions in place to manage this issue. We need both an institutional framework of a stable character to manage debt renegotiations, but also ad hoc mechanisms to manage the current debt crisis.
Developing countries should make the most of their resources while also diversifying their economies to make them less dependent on just a few sectors, says German economist Isabella Weber, who teaches at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst.
I would say that diversification is, of course, critical to development. I mean, there can be no question about it. But my impression is that the lesson drawn from the need for diversification has often been to do things other than commodities, other than the things that a country is depending on, where I would argue that, of course, you need to start doing other things. You need to move into other industries, you need to upgrade, you need to move up the value chain and all of that. But you also need to pay attention to the basic commodities, the basic stuff that you are doing, and pay attention to how this basic stuff can be stabilized.
For Celestin Monga from Harvard University, trade is essential for development by allowing countries to access new markets, technologies, and investments.
The only reliable medium to long-term engine of growth has to be trade. And there's no other credible alternative. And if you want to lift people out of poverty, you need to take trade seriously. And then for the perspective of developing countries, then adjust your macroeconomic policies and your microeconomic policies to make sure that they are consistent with trade.
Charting a new development course will not be easy in a changing world, but as the Global Leaders Forum showed, there is consensus and energy for action. With the Summit of the Future coming soon in September, there are many priorities. We want to meet the climate objectives, reduce debt burdens, strengthen value chains, diversify economies, and ensure that the digital future benefits everyone. By driving inclusive, sustainable trade and development worldwide, we can shape a global economy that delivers prosperity for all. For more on the forum and how UN trade and development is creating even more positive change in the next 60 years, visit our website at unctad.org. I'm Sarah Toms in Geneva. Goodbye for now.